It is with great excitement to welcome back a distinguished Tennessee Tech College of Business alumnus who has been recognized by Accounting Today as one of the top 100 most influential people in accounting. In 1984, he helped found Lattimore, Black, Morgan & Kane, commonly known as LBMC, and has overseen more than 3 decades of growth and success for both of the company and its clients. In 2014, LBMC was named as one of the top 50 accounting firms in business consultation in the nation. He leads by example professionally by serving on the board of directors for the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and is also a long-term member for the College of Business Board of Trustees. He is committed in giving back to his community by diligently supporting the Nashville Symphony that now reaches more than 100,000 adults and children annually through its free education and community engagement programs. This year, he transitioned into a new key role as chairman of LBMC Financial Services, where he provides strategic oversight for the non-traditional portfolio companies. We're so glad to have one of our awesome alumni here with us today who's made a significant impact to the business profession. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. David Morgan.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get this right where you all hear me, but not too much of me. Is that about right? Are we okay in the back? Okay. Well, I'm really glad to be here today. I'm especially glad to see one of my old college friends and classmates who stopped by to hear me. And so I got to stay away from this or I'll get feedback. So I'm glad to do that. I'm glad to see all you Beta Alpha Psi members and future CPAs, hopefully. So, she told you a lot about me, and that's not much reason to say much more. I might say a few things as you go on, because, this is really kind of an unusual format, because nobody, Cheryl told me, she said, last year when I got this award from the school, she said, we're going to want you to come up and speak to the students. I said, well, sure, I'll do that. And that's the last time I ever heard it. And then I get this thing in the mail. It's got my picture on it. And I'm thinking, me? With Barbara Corcoran and Damon John and Michael, and I'm very impressed. And I thought, what am I going to talk about? I'm not a shark. But I am an entrepreneur, and I have been for a long time. So here's what I thought. I also want to say that I am a proud graduate of Tennessee Tech, as you well know, and I have really appreciated my education. It made all the foundation of my whole career. It allowed me to, it's allowed me to be successful in my career and do the things that I've done. So, we always have technology issues. So, I thought about what I should talk to you all about. So here's what I'm going to talk about. And I noticed when I wrote it has the word I in it too many times. But I thought I would talk about the things I know, which is what I've done. So I'm going to tell you about some jobs I've had. One of the jobs I have not had is technology person. Sometimes, that's the best approach. I'll just stay away from it. So anyway, I want to talk about jobs I've had and some companies that I've been an owner in, because I have been an entrepreneur. And some lessons I've learned from those. Now I thought about, since I'm an accountant, I had a lot of accounting students here, I'd come to talk to you about some technical accounting stuff like, financial reporting framework for small and medium-sized enterprises, which they probably never heard of, but I chaired the task force that wrote that, or I could talk about auditor independence or some crazy stuff like that. But I thought, nah, they don't want to hear that. So I'm going to talk about some lessons I've learned. 41 years in public accounting. But along the way, I've done a few other things. So I thought I'd start out and tell you what all I've done in my career. The first job I ever had, I was a lawn mower. Now, not the mower itself, I was the guy pushing the lawn mower. Growing up, I'd borrow my dad's lawn mower and go out and mow lawns and make a few bucks. And back in those days, we didn't have a weed eater. We had clippers, and you had to go do all the trimming by hand. It wasn't an easy job. You didn't get paid a lot, but you know what? At the time, it was really great, because I was a 10, 12, 13, 14-year-old. I had a little pocket money. I could do what I wanted to. So then I graduated when I was 16 years old. I was a bag boy at the Red Food Store. I don't know if y'all ever heard of the Red Food Store. It used to be a big chain of grocery stores, but I learned a lot working in the grocery store. I learned a lot about people, and who the good people were and who the bad people were. You really learned about who gave tips and who didn't give tips, so that you got over there and bagged their groceries up, took them out the cart because you got tips on those. I learned about how grocery stores are organized and how they run in the back. You know what, I can go to a grocery store today and I can find things. Now most men go to a grocery store, they have no clue about where anything is. I know exactly how grocery stores are laid out, and I can generally find anything I want to. So I learned a lot about just life, working in a grocery store, working with all kinds of different people. So then I graduated from high school and went off to college, and I needed a summertime job. And it made sense that I might graduate from bag boy up to something more important in the food service industry. So I became a cracker stacker and a cookie man, which was really a good job. I worked for Nabisco, which was a great company. And my job was to travel around and fill in for their salesmen and stock the shelves with their products in all these little grocery stores within a 70-mile radius of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So not only did I learn about all the little cities around Chattanooga, Tennessee, I learned about being responsible because I was on my own. There was nobody with me. I had a list of the stores I was supposed to go to and what time I should be there. I got in the car, I drove, I had to keep up with my expenses to get reimbursed. I learned a lot of things about how to be an employee, being a cookie man and a cracker stacker. But what was really neat was at the end of the season, when I was coming back to work, the man who ran the place, Mr. Engel, he would go in and get a box and go to the stuff that was slightly out of date but still good, and give me a whole big old box full of cookies and crackers to take off to school. So I was very popular when I got to Tech. I had lots of cookies and stuff to eat, so that was good. While I was in college, I had an internship. Now I know a lot, how many of y'all had an internship already? So a lot of you have, and hopefully others of you will. Internships are a great thing, and I know more and more popular today. I know in our firm, we hire almost all the students who come to work for us full-time come through our internship program. Well, back when I was in school, which was a long, long time ago, they didn't really have as many internship programs, but there were some. And I got to work for Haskins and Sales, which is now known as Deloitte. There's been a lot of mergers in the big firms. Back when I graduated college, there were 8 firms. They were called the Big 8. We like to say in our firm that during our time, we put 4 of them out of business, so they're down to the Big 4 now. But Deloitte's one of the Big 4. And I worked for them in Chattanooga between my junior and senior year in college. And I really learned about auditing, and I learned about business, and how the real world works, so that when I came back to college my senior year and took my more advanced accounting and auditing classes, I had a better idea about how this stuff really worked. So it was a great job. So then I got out of school and got some job offers from most of the big firms that I interviewed with, and I decided to go to work for Pete, Marwick, and Mitchell in Nashville. Now, I'm from East Tennessee. I was born in Dayton, Tennessee, and I grew up in Chattanooga in Red Bank. I graduated from Red Bank High School in Chattanooga. And the reason I came to Tennessee Tech was I had been fortunate enough to come to Boys State. Do they still do Boys State? Do they still do it here?
Yes.
Yeah. I came to Boys State, and I really liked Tennessee Tech. I had a fun week up here. I liked the campus, and I thought, man, this is great. I was really maybe the second person on both sides of my family who had ever gone to college, or at least graduated from college. Maybe one other one had gone a little bit. I came from working class family, and those people didn't go to college back then. And so I was very fortunate. I got to come to Tennessee Tech because I got I think a $400 scholarship from the Tennessee Tech Alumni Association of Chattanooga. And that sealed the deal, man. I could go to Tech. Because believe it or not, back in those days, we were on the quarter system. That almost covered the tuition for the whole year. Is it a little more expensive now? A little more. Yeah. Times have changed. So I came to Tech, graduated, and started looking around for a job. I interviewed and I made a decision. I did not want to go back to Chattanooga. That's where my parents lived, it's where I'd grown up. Wasn't at the time a great city. Much better city today, but back in the 70s it was a smokestack, heavy industry town, not where I wanted to live. Interviewed in Atlanta, decided that was too big. Interviewed in Nashville and settled on wanting to work for Pete Marwick and Mitchell. Now you look back on your careers and you decide what were the big decisions you made. And the biggest decision I ever made, I didn't realize at the time, was to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee is a happening city. I've been there for 41 years. And it has been a great time to be in a great place with great people around you, in a vibrant economy, with an industry that's really strong, the healthcare industry being one of the strongest parts of the whole economy. So that was one of the best decisions I ever made in business, was just to move to Nashville. Because I can tell you, our firm's been very successful in Nashville, Tennessee, and now in Knoxville and Chattanooga. If we had offices in Cleveland, Ohio, or some of the Rust Belt cities, we wouldn't have been as successful because the business climate is just different there than it is in Nashville. So as you graduate from college, all of y'all are smarter now. Understand you all think about where you want to live, and then you figure out how to get a job where you want to live. Find a good place, a good city to live that has a good economy, because you'll always be able to find a job with the economy strong. So I stayed at Pete Marwick and Mitchell for about 3 years, thought I knew everything there was to know, and I ventured out and became an entrepreneur. Now you say, I thought you were a CPA. Well, you can be an entrepreneur and be a CPA. It's okay. I mean, starting a CPA firm is an entrepreneurial venture. I went to go to the bank, borrow some money. We bought some office furniture. We bought an IBM correcting selector typewriter. That was really state-of-the-art technology. And we rented some office space and we started. Bill James and I. Bill was also an accounting graduate from Tennessee Tech. We started a little firm. That didn't last too long because something else came along and we merged in with some other guys who had been at Pete Marwick and Mitchell and moved into another firm, which ultimately put us to Lattimore, Blackboard, and Kane, which was started in 1984. As Callie said, we started out with 12 people. Today we have 480 people, and the updated number is we're the 44th largest accounting firm in the United States, which is kind of awesome when you think about it. You start from nothing, and there's 45,000 CPA firms in the United States. We were number 45,000 when we started, and now we're 44. So we've been pretty fortunate. We've been very fortunate to start a lot of different companies in addition to the accounting firm. So when I say I'm an entrepreneur, I'm just not an entrepreneur in accounting firms, but a lot of other things. So this is the family of companies that we own, and I might talk about some of them later, but just thought I'd show them to you. Now, here's some things I think I flipped it. Okay, I got into the companies that I've been an owner in, the CPA firm, all these different things associated with LBMC, but now I want to tell you about some other things that you might find interesting. I was once an owner in a bowling alley. And you know what? That bowling alley turned out to be a great real estate deal because we owned the real estate that Home Depot wanted and got rid of the bowling alley. So that turned out to be really good. I've been owner of an office building in Brentwood. It was our second building. We owned a building, we sold it, bought this building, moved out of it, and didn't sell it. One lesson that I didn't put in here, but I'll tell you about an office building. When a building's 100% full and you get your rent every month, it's a good thing. When your only tenant moves out and it's 100% empty and you're not getting any rent, it's not a good thing. Just remember that. If you're going to have rental property, make sure it's rented. I was an owner of a business that does executive suites, where you can rent an office and they provide all the technology. And I'm telling you about these businesses because I'm going to come back in a minute and I'm going to tell you about some things I've learned, and I'm going to tie them back to some of these businesses. So this office suite business run by a lady who was very talented, started a little business, and we helped her get it started, and ultimately I sold my interest back to her as time went on, but she did a great job. I'm an owner in a really strange business. You'd say, why in the world would an accountant own an interest in a engine rebuilding part? Well, met a guy that was really talented in the industry, looking for some partners to help start a business. Took a bet on him 19 years ago. Really quality individual. We're not a big company, but you know what? We buy stuff from all over the world, and we sell stuff all over the world in a small business in Nashville, Tennessee. We buy from China, we buy from India, we buy from Turkey. We export to Mexico, South American countries, export back to Europe and to Asia. It's funny how you can buy something, ship it here, repackage it, ship it back, and make money. It's a good thing. Oh, I went too far. I'm an owner with a friend of mine who owns a testing center, a computer-based testing center. In fact, some of you may take the CPA exam there one day. I've got a friend, well, getting carried away here. I've got a friend who, I'm faster with the trigger than this thing is catching up with me. It's age, yeah, thank you. So I just recently invested in a company started by a friend of mine that works with self-insured insurance plans to help them control their employees' diabetes. You know what one of the biggest drivers for the cost of health insurance is? It's diabetes. You know, a diabetic, if an average employee costs an employer about $5,000 a year in health insurance, a diabetic will be $15,000. And that's assuming they don't go to the emergency, $50,000 a visit. And so he started a company because he's very interested in diabetes and helping companies control their costs and how to, you know, also help their employee base to be more healthy. Now, wasn't too active in this, but I thought y'all think this one was neat, so I threw it in. My friend, one of my partners, Mike Kane, was the big driver in this company called School of the Legends, and we were in the football training business. We had internet training videos about how to tackle and how to do all sorts of things about football and coaching and proper positions and whatever. Now, this was a really interesting company. I owned and was the president of and ran the Meadows Indemnity Company, which was a foreign reinsurance company, headquartered in Guernsey. Y'all know where Guernsey is? Somebody knows where Guernsey is? Yeah. Well, I didn't hardly, but I went to Guernsey one time. You got to go to London, and it's called a Channel Island. It's between Europe and Great Britain, right in the ocean. It's a little bitty island, but it's kind of a specialty haven for reinsurance companies. It's got some very favorable taxation there. You're saying, well, what do you know about insurance? Or more than that, reinsurance. Well, frankly, I didn't know much of anything. I had a client who owned this company. He had some health issues and was going to have some major surgery. Unfortunately, from which he did not survive. And so he asked me if I would buy this company. I would be interested in buying this company. I've been working with him for a while, so I understood what he was doing. I said, yeah, I'll buy it. And got together, Mike Kane and I and another partner, and we got the money and bought it. And I thought I'd had this guy around who was a PhD in mathematics and in loss insurance. He was an insurance expert. I thought I'd have him around to advise me. Well, 3 months later, he was dead. And so I was running a foreign reinsurance company that I knew very little about. Now, fortunately, I had one really great employee. She was really knowledgeable, been around a long time. I'll tell you a little bit more about that story as I tell you some of the lessons I've learned. Here's an interesting one. I owned an interest in a graphic film animation business. That was back before we had digital images so much. This was back in the old days when artists actually drew graphics, and they used those graphics to make commercials for TV or productions or whatever. And this was a big time company in the graphic film animation business. Thank goodness we got out of it before digital completely put it out of business. Actually, I think we sold it to a company who sold it to a company. I think all the images ended up in the Getty animation company, which is a great big, the Getty family, very wealthy, and they own all our images now. Well, we got a lot of their money. That was a good thing. So, did I surprise you that I've been involved in businesses other than accounting? You think some of those were kind of neat? Well, I think I've been very fortunate and been very lucky to have fun in investing in a lot of businesses. I'm going to put my phone down here so I can watch the time. And while I was investing in those businesses, I learned a lot of lessons. And I'm going to tell you a few of them. And you can take them for what they're worth. Number one, know what you're up against. You need to assess your competition. Whatever you're doing, know what you're up against. You know, as I assessed the competition here in the year of the shark, I became very concerned. Barbara Corcoran, a multi-billion-dollar business, been on Shark Tank on TV. Damon John, a motivational speaker, been on Shark Tank on TV. Mike Lane, hey, he's going to be really neat. I wish I could come hear him because I grew up being a New York Yankees baseball fan, and he works for the New York Yankees. He's their chief information officer, and he grew up right here in Cookeville. So that's a really imposing lineup. So I'm looking at that competition and assessing it, and I realize I'm in trouble. I'm not sure I've got the same kind of things to say that they may have. So it's always important to assess your competition. When we started in the accounting business, we looked around at the competition. Back in those days, there were the big 8, and not all of them had offices in Nashville, but a number of them did, and there were a couple other very strong local firms. And we looked at our competition and said, what do we want to be? Well, we decided we want to be like the big national firms, except we didn't want to have some of the bad stuff they had. They churned the staff, they moved them out of town. They were very different than what we wanted to do. So we figured out our sweet spot in the market was to work with privately held businesses and their owners. And over time, what's happened is the big firms have migrated up to the public companies. They left that middle market space. Most of the other big competitors we had in town got merged up, and we just owned the space. And it's allowed us to go from 12 people to 480 people. Assess your competition. Know what you're up against. If you're going to bet on something, bet on yourself. You know, I go to Las Vegas a lot for meetings. I'm not a big gambler. Now, I won't tell you I gamble a little bit, I have. But I just don't enjoy playing cards and losing money, which I always do. One time I won, and I was so happy. I think when I quit gambling, I just quit on it while I was on a roll. But now, when I play golf, I don't mind a little wager on golf because I'm betting on myself. And if I don't win, that's me. And if I need to do something, it's dependent upon me. So when you decide to go in business as an entrepreneur, you're making a bet. If you want to bet on something, bet on yourself. I always keep the main thing, the main thing. I've shown you a lot of businesses that I've been an owner or investor in. For 41 years, I've been a CPA as my day job, and I never forgot that. I was always full-time being a practicing CPA because that took care of paying the bills. It allowed me to meet other people and find other opportunities that I took advantage of to invest in over the years. And I didn't have to worry about quite as much as some entrepreneurs do. You know, am I going to make the next payroll or not? I can have something to fall back on. So keep the main thing, the main thing. The key to a successful business is a good leader. I can tell you, this is probably one of the most important lessons I've ever learned. I think you all, we have 7 other operating companies at LBMC. We are in the technology business, the HR business, the staffing business, the investment advisory business. We have a business process outsourcing company. We have a physician solutions company, and we have an information technology security business. You know, however, one of those started, we found somebody who wanted to be the leader. Now we tried, I want to be honest with you, we tried things, and I've tried things, not all of them are successful. Remember that School of Legends thing I showed you there? It was really neat. That was not a good company. And it got a lot of capital put into it. Why? Well, one of the reasons was it didn't have a good leader. Might not have had a good business model either, but it just didn't work. We started other businesses with people who weren't the right people to be the leader. And so we had to change people and get the right person to be the leader, and suddenly something that wasn't working very good becomes very good. And then I started businesses where I got somebody who's passionate, experienced, and knowledgeable. Qualcast, the engine automotive parts. The guy there, he knows the world of engine rebuilding. He can go to China and get access to production facilities that nobody else in the world can do. He's really special. He's a great leader. Had a guy who was my partner who wanted us to start a retirement plan administration business. He was passionate about it. He started it. It was very successful. He came to us and wanted to take it in a different direction. He said, "No, we don't think so." So he bought us out, and he's got a successful business today. The key to any business is having a successful leader. And you're saying, well, you know, I don't know that I want to be an entrepreneur. I maybe not be comfortable being that leader. Okay, well, you know what? Find you a business that's got great leadership, and you'll be in a better place. Because if you don't have good leadership in your business, whether you started it, you're the owner, or you just work there, you will not be successful. And the better the leadership, the more the success. Now this is one I bet you I've told people in my office 100 times. In fact, I told somebody on the way up here as I was talking to him on the phone. It always takes longer and it always costs more. And as we discussed, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're talking about building a house? You're talking about remodeling a house? You're talking about starting a business. It always takes longer. And it always costs more. Do you know what the biggest reason that most small businesses fail? Anybody got a guess? They did quit because they run out of capital. They run out of capital before they can get their business to market. Now, I'll go back to a real life story. True Life Care, the diabetes company. A friend of mine came, wanted to raise some money. I put some in, some others put some in. We started. That wasn't enough. We still think we've got a good prospect. Okay, we put some more money in. And then we got our first customer, and that was good, but we had to put some more money in. So we going along and said, well, we got to get that second customer. If we can just get that second customer, we're going to have a real business. Well, we've got to put some more money in. And you know what? The 6th time we put some more money in, now we've got enough customers that we have enough mass in the business for it to be self-sustaining. But if we just stopped at the 2nd round or the 3rd round, it would just die. Now sometimes you keep putting the money in, School of Legends is a good example, and you still fail because you didn't have the right idea. So, but even a good business, if you're determined and you're just, dogged about it, it always takes longer and it always costs more. So if you think a young man came to see us, he's a son of a good friend of mine, he started a software business. And I invested some, he's not on the list here, but I did invest some with him because I liked him. He's a bright young man, and his father-in-law was my first client ever. And he didn't raise a lot of money, but he said that he thought that'd be enough. Well, you know what's happened is now he's broke. It took him a lot longer to get his product to market than he thought. It's finally almost operational, but he needs to spend some more money on it. And he's got to live, and he doesn't have any money. And now he's trying to raise some more capital. That's not the right time to be doing that. Think about it on the front end. And frankly, if you're really going to start a business to be an entrepreneur, think you're going to need $100,000, figure out how you're going to get $200,000. Because it'll cost more than you think, and it'll take longer. And if you ever do a home remodeling project, I know all y'all are too young, most of you too young to have a home, but if you ever do a home remodeling project, I'll give you a hint. Here's how you get a budget for doing a home remodeling project. You go out, you get 3 bids, and you add them up. That's what it'll cost. You never do a good deal with bad people, and you're unlikely to do a bad deal with good people. And let me tell you about that. This was actually taught to me by a man, George Fulford, on the real estate development company, which is still in existence, and a client of ours, Southeast Venture Company. George unfortunately passed away. But he used to say that, and he was the epitome of it. Real estate business is like this. It's up and down, up and down, up and down, booms and busts. And we've done a lot of work for their company, and frankly, they just couldn't pay us. They didn't have any money. And it wasn't that they were bad people. They were just broke. The real estate market was at the bottom. We said, what are we going to do? We can't just keep working for them and not get paid. I said, well, let's do this. Let's just tell them, we'll wipe the slate clean. You don't have to pay all that money that you owed, which was a lot of money. And let's just go forward from here. You just pay us for what we did from here on. They said, okay. We wiped the slate clean. Forgot about it. 3 years later, they were back on top. You know what happened? He came to us and said, you know that money we owed you? We'd like to pay you. Now, we can't pay you all of it, but they paid us about 70% of it. Would that be okay? Yeah. That's like found money. But that just shows you a good person is not going to do a bad deal. Now, the opposite of that is a bad person. And there's some bad people out there, let me tell you. Because you remember that building, that Fairlawns building? My partner in that building was a bad person. Unfortunately, at that point in time, I was kind of a junior partner, and our lead partner and the other partner, who was an attorney, we were going to go together and build this building, occupied. They were going to have ag, we're going to have ag, everything. One of them would be fully occupied, rent paying. Well, unfortunately, the lawyer was a bad guy. And he stole $1 million from us. I can tell you, $1 million back in 1989 was a lot of money. And what was even worse, and I'll get to one here in a minute, I'll kind of move ahead a little bit, we had to go borrow the money to cover that $1 million loss. You know, contractors got paid, everybody got paid, the suppliers got paid, we were out $1 million. And we just worked hard and overcame that and paid it back. At the same time, this was during the real estate downturn. We had people in Nashville going down to 801 Broadway, which is the address of the U.S. bankruptcy court, and they're just discharging their debts and walking away. And we could have done that, but we didn't do that because we were good people. Everybody got paid. That one guy, he done some other bad things and he went to prison. But here, you know, what you learn is make sure who you get in business with. I've got tons of partners, and I've had lots of partners over my career, and everything I've done, I've had partners. And you know what? The vast majority of them have been good people. But one bad partner can pull you down. I said you will never do a good deal with bad people, and I believe that. I said you're unlikely to do a bad deal with good people. Now, a good person can still do a bad deal. They could just be wrong, but they're not going to they're not going to abuse you. You don't have to worry about whether you can trust them or not. That's the key. So find good people to be your partners. If what you're doing is not working, try something different. You know, I see these people, they just keep beating their head against the wall and doing the wrong things. You know, we started out doing one thing, and we said, you know, that's not going to get there. In fact, we got one going right now that I think we may have to change the business model on it because it's not working too well. Sometimes you just need more capital, more time. Sometimes you need to step back and say, I don't think this is going to work just the way we want it to be. And you have to be willing to adapt. Qualcast, a little company that sells engine parts. Well, they used to just sell parts, you know. I don't know much about engines, but maybe some of you all do. The engines have valves and pistons and heads and gaskets and all these different things. We sold some of those parts, not all of them. But then the big boys got out of making the engine blocks for certain big engines, big block engines they're called, that are used to run compressors in oil wells. They just quit making them. There was a market need. So we said, well, we can not just make the parts, we can make a big part, the block, the whole engine. We went over to China, reverse engineered what we needed to make. We now make those engines. And you know what? Big boom in the oil business. Been good times selling those. So you just got to be willing to adapt, change. And as an entrepreneur, if you start out with an idea that I'm going to do this and only this, you better have a really good idea because it may not work. Now here's one to always remember. It's always darkest right before the dawn. What does that mean? We have, I'll tell you, LBMC Employment Partners, one of our shining stars at LBMC, they outsource HR services. They do payroll, benefits, workers' comp, health insurance, you know, HR consulting. We have a PEO with over 3,000 members in it. We service 20,000 employees for different, a great little business, very profitable, great business. When we first started that business, it was not so profitable. In fact, it was a disaster. We had all these lessons to learn. Number one, we had the wrong leadership. So what did we do? We got rid of that leadership, got some new leadership. Then we realized, you know, our idea maybe needed to be a little broader than just selling PEO services. Let's just sell them a la carte too. So if somebody just wants their payroll done, we'll do that as well. So we changed what we're doing because what we were doing wasn't working that well. And we got in real deep. Well, I got a story in here about capital. You know, it always costs more and always takes longer. This one cost a lot more. We were deep in the hole. We borrowed a lot of money. But we thought we had a good idea and we kept working it. And we turned it around. All that debt got paid and now it's a very profitable business. But you know what? There were times when it was easy to say, let's just throw in the towel. We did business with you never do business, a good deal with bad people. We had a bad company we dealt with, and it was an Anthem insurance company. Now, there's a lot of Anthems out there, so don't quote me as the Anthem. You may say that, well, they're a good company. Well, this one was not a good company. They collected premiums for health insurance and didn't pay the claims. Now, you think that makes your customers unhappy? They bought health insurance through your PEO, and they go to their doctor, and the doctor says, I'm not getting my claims paid. I said, well, we pay the premium for it. Why aren't you paying them? That was a dark day. We worked through it best we could. Got a new insurance company. Learned to do business with much more reputable ones, although it's really hard when you start out to get insurance companies to do business with you in that space. Today, we're the only PEO that Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee does business with. We're the only one in the whole state of Tennessee because we do such a good job of managing that business and underwriting good business and watching the claims and trying to keep people healthy. So, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, one day you're going to wake up and say, it's really dark. It's really dark. And sometimes you just have to press on, go to another day, get through the next hurdle, because it's always darkest right before the dawn. Here's one. Make good friends with your banker and always keep him or her informed. Now, I know today most entrepreneurs think that, you write a business plan, you go out and raise $1 million and go into business, and that's what you do. But in the old days, we used to actually borrow money from banks to go into business because they would loan you some. And they still will, for the right ideas and the right collateral. So you want to keep your bankers happy when you get into business. Remember I told you that guy stole $1 million from us at the depth of the real estate crisis. I can tell you how bad it was in Nashville, Tennessee. If you were in a room full of bankers and you said real estate loan, they'd jump up out of the chairs and run out of the rooms. They didn't want any more real estate loans. They didn't want to talk about real estate loans. That's just the opposite today. You can get the national real estate is just booming. But that's just the boom and bust cycles of real estate. We had to borrow $1 million, not just for a real estate deal, but for a theft loss on a real estate deal. You think we had a good relationship with that banker to be able to get that loan? I think we did. We built a lot of trust, and that pulled us through. And it was the darkest. That was the dark hour right before the dawn. So I have a good banker. Any bankers in here? No? Well, they're good folks. When dealing in matters of fairness, err on the side of generosity. I'm not sure this one fits with everything else. It's just something I believe. When you have employees, they sometimes, or vendors, or customers, whatever, they sometimes think one thing, you think another, and it's a matter of what's fair. Just learn to err on the side of generosity. You just will learn to do that, and you'll have a lot better relationships in the long run. It's really harder to start a successful business in a new industry than it is in an established industry. The School of Legends, brand new industry, was really, really hard. Cascom, the graphic film animation, there wasn't many companies in that business. It was really hard to get people to accept doing business with you or buy your product because it was new and it was different. Now the accounting business, people were buying accounting services. It wasn't nearly as hard to start an accounting firm because all you had to do is go get somebody to buy accounting services from somebody else to buy them from you. A lot easier to start up a business in an industry that has an established culture and base of customers and people who buy it than it is to say, I'm going to go out and start Uber. Now think about that. That's a pretty radical idea. There's nobody out there doing ride sharing. I wish I'd have thought of that idea. I did think of the idea, but unfortunately they beat me to the draw. That's a great company. Do y'all have Uber in Cookville? No? We have Uber in Nashville. It's great. And the technology's incredible. I get on my app, I push it, it tells me, okay, Chrissy will be here to pick you up in 10 minutes. I can watch on the little app, it shows where their car is, and when she turns down my street, I go to the front door and open it up, and there she is. And she takes me to wherever I'm going. I get an email, say, thank you. First, I get an email that says, rate your driver. And you always have to rate the driver. I didn't want to do that the first time. I even emailed Uber. I said, I don't like this rating stuff. I said, well, if you want to do business with Uber, you have to rate the driver every time. 5 stars, 4 stars, 3, 2, 1. And if drivers get below 4 stars, I think they get fired. So it's really important you have to rate. Then you get an email that says, thanks for your trip with Uber. Your charge is $21.45. It's been charged for your credit card. And it's so easy and simple versus trying to catch a cab in a big city where you don't know where to go. Really neat. But that's hard because that industry didn't exist. Now here's the last lesson. I'll let you all ask some questions perhaps. To be an entrepreneur and be successful, you really only got to work half the day. And it really doesn't matter which 12 hours that is. But you can work half days. I worked half days and a little more for a lot of years. Most entrepreneurs work really hard, 70, 80 hours a week. If that doesn't appeal to you, you probably don't want to be an entrepreneur. You just need to realize it's not easy. And when you're not working, you know, as Callie said, that when I stepped down as the co-managing partner of the CPA firm in June. So I'm kind of, I won't like to call it retired because I'm not retired, I'm still working, but not working as hard. But, you know, I still think about business all the time. I go to a dinner party, I'm talking to somebody about their business. I'm seeing if they're a prospective client for us, even though I'm not working at the CPA firm anymore. Maybe they, for one of our other companies. I like to know about business. You're always on as an entrepreneur, a business owner, a leader. You can never, you know, you go to church, you sit next to somebody in the pew. Yeah, what do you do? I find you a new customer there. Yeah, you know, business never, a good business leader never shuts down. You go to your kid's soccer match, you stand over on the side of the field, you talk to some of the other parents, you find out somebody's just the kind of person you need to know. So, when I say you want to work 12 hours a day, maybe you're going to work 24 hours a day. 18, you might get to sleep a little bit. But it's important to realize that being an entrepreneur takes a lot of time. So, here's just a few conclusions that I'll leave you with. You learn lessons all your life. If you think you've learned a lot in college, here's what I want to tell you. I'll speak to the CPAs over because that's what I do. The first year you're out of school, you'll learn more than all you learned your whole college career, including your master's program. You'll learn that much in the first year, and then it never stops. You just layer on knowledge. You just get more and more and more and more. But that's what's fun. One of our core values at LBMC is lifelong learning. You know, you got to keep learning. I keep learning. I go to continuing education classes and keep learning about technical matters, but also about, you know, soft skills and how to deal with the newest generation, or, you know, how to do a better job of making presentations, which I might need to go get refreshed on. And, you know, you just learn all your life. Plan on it. Successful entrepreneurs have a strong desire to understand how things work. Be curious. Are you a curious person? I am. I like to know how things work. You know what really makes me curious? I love to see how people are successful in business. Now, you know, how do we measure success in business? Let's be honest. You're accountants. You know the answer to this. How do we measure success? Profits. Of course, profits. So, you know, be curious. You see these people making a lot of money? Figure out how they're doing it. It's beautiful being an accountant because you're on the inside. You get to go peek on the inside and see how they're doing it. Sometimes you peek in there and find out they're not nearly as successful as you thought they were. But sometimes you learn. I've learned so much from so many different people in so many different industries on how to be successful in business. You know, from selling used sewing machine equipment to doing painting as a subcontractor to, you know, making water heaters, the insurance company. Now I'm going to finish that story about that reinsurance company. That was a reinsurance company. When I bought it in I don't remember exactly when it was, but it had not written new business. It should have been around 2000. It had not written any new business in 11 years. It was in what was called the runoff stage. So it had all these contracts, which they called treaties, that had been entered into over the years, and they were running off over time. And they were all over the world, and all kinds of insurance. We had a piece of the Lockerbie, Scotland airplane disaster. We insured some of that. The worst loss I ever had in that company was an accountant's malpractice liability case down in Australia. We had workers' comp, we had asbestos claims, we had all sorts of crazy insurance. Whoever put this company together was a crazy man. Well, it was my client that did it. He was a crazy man, but he put it together. And he told me before he died, he said, when I agreed to buy, he said, you'll never be able to close that business. You'll never be able to close that business. Because these claims will run on for years and years and years. And you know what happened was they changed the law in London, and I was able to do what's called a solvent scheme of arrangement. Now that sounds pretty bad, doesn't it, in the U.S. terms? Solvent scheme of arrangement, a scheme? But the Brits love schemes, so it was okay, it's a good thing. Solvent scheme of arrangement. And we made all the claimants come to the table, present their claims, we paid them all off, and closed the company. And we were able to do that. Something he thought would never happen. And you know what? It's because we said, we got to do something different. Let's change. Don't keep doing what we've been doing, and that's just arguing claim by claim and paying what we could. Let's just make them all come to the table and pay them off. So be curious. Learn things. You know, you're in a great setting. Tennessee Tech's a great school. You all got great professors who are willing to teach you, and you'll come out of this school with a great knowledge and background to be successful in business. But be curious while you're here. And once you get out, get more curious. Get curiouser and curiouser as your career goes on. Learn to ask questions and to learn about how people do things. And so the last thing I'll just say is being an entrepreneur is fun and it is rewarding. Now, Callie didn't tell you about the fact that, you know, my passions outside of work are golf, which I play pretty often. Not so well, but play often. And wine collecting. I'm a big wine collector. I collect Bordeaux wines, which are fairly expensive. And I have 7,000 bottles of wine that I collected over the years. So I can tell you, accounting can be rewarding. It paid for my wine cellar. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur, make sure you stand the risk before you jump in. We're in the investment advisory business now. We have $950 million worth of clients' assets that we manage. And you know, the first thing you talk to people about is risk. How comfortable are you with risk? Okay, how do you sleep at night knowing your assets might go down 20% in value just like that? And if that makes you so uncomfortable you can't sleep, then you don't need to be invested that way. And I say this same thing to you about risk. Think about your personal appetite for risk. If you're an entrepreneur, there's a chance your company's going to go broke. You're not going to be successful. And is that going to ruin your life? Well, if it is, don't be an entrepreneur. If worried about business success is keeping you up at night and you can't sleep, maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. But if you're like me, that you can stand the real risk and you think you can figure it out along the way, then being an entrepreneur is a great thing. It's very rewarding, both in relationships you build, the financial success you have, and just the fun you have. I've gotten to go to a lot of fun places, meet a lot of fun people, do a lot of fun things. So I would challenge you, think about being an entrepreneur one day. You know, I'm not on Shark Tank and I'm not going to give you $100,000. But you know what? You don't have to have that to be a successful entrepreneur. You need to be able to find a business that you can do on your own.